I am delighted to be here with all of you. Actually, the topic of my talk is, like with all academics, a very long and convoluted topic. So Mr. Gadre told you what it was, and I will give a special prize to anyone who can now tell me what it is. But I will try to tell you roughly what that subject is. Let me first say I am delighted to be here with you. And just before we started this formal session, I had the opportunity to meet some of you and hear some of your stories about how some of you went into entrepreneurship and what drove you there, and the wonderful projects and assignments you are doing. I even met one of my students who's very successful, and I promptly told him it's all because of taking my class that he's very successful. You know, success has many fathers. So I am really eager to hear from you, and I have a total of about 40 minutes in which to really both say something on that big topic, which if I restate will take 20 minutes in restating, and then to maybe address some question and answers. So I'll directly go to the topic. I just want to make a few observations on that topic and then ask you if you have any comments. But before going to that topic, I want to thank the organizers for inviting me, but particularly Dr. Joshipura. Hasit is my senior at IIM-Ahmedabad. He's 1 year senior. So the place I'm, by the way, when he calls me Director Nanda, I look to my left and right. It feels very odd to be called director. I'm directing nothing. I'm just, CEO of an academic institution. Hasit was 1 year my senior. I graduated from Ahmedabad in 1983. He graduated in 82. We all used to look up to him, even at that time as a young lad of 20 odd. He was brilliant and upright, and through the years he's been just one of the beacons of thought leadership and generosity of personality. And so when he asked me to come speak, I just cannot say no. By the way, he was also on the search committee of IIM-Ahmedabad, which selected me. So if I say anything wrong today that you don't agree with, it's all Hasit's fault, by the way. And so let me now turn to the topic. So the topic is human capital intensive industries. And then I'm talking about some developments, global developments and implications for India. And I'm talking about human capital intensive industries. So it's a kind of long term. Think of industries as being three kinds: labor intensive, which tends to be capital intensive. So labor is undifferentiated, but capital is there. So capital intensive, natural resource intensive, and human capital intensive. What do we mean by intensive? Strategic resource there is either the natural resource or physical capital or human capital. I'm going to talk about human capital intensive industries, where your strategic assets are elevator assets. Basically, these are if you are in a company where when people walk out the elevator and leave the building, your assets have walked out, then you are in that industry. Okay, so what are those industries like? Most of the service industries are like that, including the service type, the subset of service industries I have spent most of my life studying, which is professional service industries. Service industries are like that. Research intensive industries, so pharmaceutical is one example, software is another example. They are human capital intensive. And then creative industries, entertainment, experience, of which tourism is a part. They are human capital intensive. So if you look at these three, research intensive, service industries, and experience intensive, this is a very large part of the world's economy. It's a growing part of the world's economy. It's a large part of India's economy. It's a growing part of India's economy. So when Hasit says Mumbai was at one time a physical capital intensive city, and now it's much more, the term he used was service intensive, and I would say human capital intensive. I agree. I think Mumbai is just a prime example of what is happening. And actually, even the physical capital intensive industries are becoming more human capital oriented. So all of which is a very long-winded way of saying it is good to think about what's happening in human capital intensive industries. Okay? So I think human capital intensive industries are going through a dramatic transformation. And this transformation is unfolding over a period of not a month or so, but several years. And that transformation is that they are becoming much more global. Historically, human capital intensive industries have tended to be relatively local. They have been context specific. Distribution costs have been high compared to cost of production. So when you look at legal services, they have been very jurisdiction specific, for example. When you look at education, my industry, it has tended to be very, very local. When you look at some of the other industries in human capital intensive spheres, for example, let's look at tourism, for example, it has tended to be local. And what is happening over a period of a few years now, and some parts of the human capital intensive industries have been leading this, others are lagging, is that boundaries are slowly melting away. People who used to think when they were in any of these industries, like a service industry, etc., they used to think just of their local environment. They are now thinking more globally, both in terms of markets as also in terms of competition. And that has huge consequences for India. Now, I'm going to just go back a little bit and talk about what happened with the globalization of capital intensive industries, which happened a few years in the past, and so we can learn from that. When capital intensive industries globalized, the first thing that happened was that whichever place had comparative advantage, they dominated. So rubber was coming from Southeast Asia. Meats were coming from Argentina. Corn was coming from US. This is natural resource intensive. Physical capital intensive. Textiles were coming from, because textile mills were in UK. Chemicals were coming from Germany. So wherever you had. And basically that was the first phase. But the more interesting thing that happened as they globalized more and more was that clusters developed where ecosystems established which were supportive of particular industries. So for example, semiconductors in Silicon Valley, precision manufacturing in Germany, tiles in Italy, and I can keep giving examples. And this second phase, when clusters developed, was in fact much more powerful because these clusters established reputations of quality and distinctiveness, as opposed to the first phase where it was primarily a cost game. Now fast forward to what is happening in human capital intensive industries. What is happening is across geographies, across countries, people's needs, expectations are becoming similar. A company in India expects the same audit quality, for example, as a company in UK or a company in Germany, same level. Most commercial transactions, if you need corporate law advice in Mumbai, you want it to be the same quality as the corporate law advice you are getting in Hong Kong. And so expectations are becoming similar. Distribution cost has become much less primarily because of IT. As a result, earlier when you used to have to be very local in manufacture and delivery of these human capital intensive products and services, now you can think globally. The first phase of that melting away of borders has occurred in most cases, and that has been a game of cost advantage. So for example, body shopping and medical tourism in India are two quick examples where we say we arbitraged on lower cost of our human capital to offer commodity services. But that is actually table stakes. That's the first part of the game. The second part of the game is going to be whether we can develop clusters of high quality. And I want to now give you two examples of what happened when people have tried to develop clusters of high quality. So financial services, till about 1980s or so, most countries were very, very protectionist. UK under Margaret Thatcher, 1984, they decided City of London, just a small area, the city area, which is where most financial services companies are. They said they would remove all barriers to international competition. To this day, it's called the Big Bang. Basically, anybody could come in and establish themselves. Over the next 10 years, there was tremendous churn inside of the financial services industry in UK. Established leaders were no longer established leaders, new firms came, international competitors came, but I can tell you that by the early 90s, early 80s, people used to debate, will London be the financial capital of Europe? Will Frankfurt will be the financial capital or so? By mid-90s, it was clear that there were 3 financial centers in the world, New York, London, and Hong Kong. Today, if you look at the quality of financial services in London, they are comparable to the best anywhere, international, some of the best domestic firms are there, highly skilled people are there. But it took a lot of churn to get there. Second example I will give, legal services in Germany. Till mid-90s, you could not have more than 20 partners in a German law firm, and if you were located in one state in Germany, you couldn't be located in another state. Protectionist. Suddenly, 1994, 92, they decided that they were going to, one fell swoop, remove those barriers, allow firms to merge, work with each other. To this day, they call this the Bastille Day decision, like the Bastille Day in French Revolution. There was huge churn after that, huge churn. But fast forward 10 years, if you look at the top German firm, Hengler Muller, it is comparable to the best in the world. If you look at the biggest, most successful Magic Circle firm, Freshfields, Bruckhaus, Deringer, very large part of that firm is from Germany. The vitality of the German legal industry is extraordinary. So what am I saying here? I think India is on the cusp, and frankly has been on the cusp for the last 5 years, of choosing one of 2 paths. The first path is protectionist. Faced with potential competition in human capital intensive industries, the easy path is to say, keep protectionist barriers high, make sure that we have a stable situation. We don't want to be killed by competitors. It's a very short-sighted approach. I know a little bit about legal industry. Legal industry, fantastic, bright minds in India. But I'm sorry to tell you that we have India desks in places like Singapore of other law firms which have like 100 people working there. Why? Because good quality work will go where good quality people are. And if you will not allow high quality competition to exist, work will move away. Education, my area. Every time I come to Mumbai, I see people from other universities recruiting people over here. And some of that is because we have maintained high protectionist barriers. So we can do that and continue somewhat stable and comfortable. The second approach is lower protectionist barriers. And I have full confidence that India can come out extremely successful with very, very vital clusters. Already in our software industry where we got the protectionist barriers down, we have shown that. What started as body shopping today are outsourcing giants. We lower protectionist barriers. I think there are 5 things that India has which are extraordinary, 2 Ds and 3 Es. We have democracy, we have demography, young, India is a very young country. We have economy, we are growing. We might not be growing as fast as we would like, but growing faster than most of the rest of the world. We have entrepreneurial energy, and we have education, commitment to education. With these qualities, I think if all we need is some confidence in ourselves, and willingness to compete with the best in the world, I think if we do that, 10 years from now, we will have some extraordinary clusters of human capital intensive organizations in things like medical services, in things like tourism experiences, in things like legal services. Already, I think in strategy consulting, we have done well, we could do significantly better. Issue there is to have confidence in ourselves and be in the flow of what we are doing. And by the way, the firms that will benefit the most from this may not be today's incumbents. These might be some of the rapidly able to act quickly, agile, what we call the MSM, small and medium scale industries. They might be actually more able, just like happened in software space. Our youth might be able to do wonderful things, but we have to have confidence, be willing to go through the churn that definitely will happen, and future is brilliant. But we have to take this, we have to grab this opportunity, and I think for 4 or 5 years, we have been actually inertial. Let me see what criticism, questions, and suggestions you have. First of all, did it make sense? I don't know, everybody is quiet, so I'll see from your questions. So please, I'd love to hear from you what your thoughts are and love to respond on this or any other questions you have.
Shall I begin?
Yes, Hassan, please. This usually is the toughest question. So.
No, you said that we have an opportunity to really build clusters of excellence in human capital.
Yeah.
But don't you think a prerequisite for that is the infrastructure equivalent of that, which is a very robust education sector?
Yeah.
Because without that, you're not going to develop the kind of excellence.
Yeah, so Hasit, I think there are certain requirements for that. One is, in fact, more than robust education sector, I think the way I look at it, there are certain government policies that need to be there, which is it should be relatively easy to enter, the flip side of which is relatively easy to exit. You should be able to reward people for the talent that you are asking for, and you should be able to ask people who are not performing to quit. These are 4 things that you should be able to do. Education, actually, my own belief, Hasit, is India is in a very interesting situation. Our primary level education is terrible, and our tertiary level education is excellent compared to some of the other countries. So yes, we should build our primary level education, but in tertiary level education, we have a fantastic advantage. Our graduates from IITs go and they run Silicon Valley behemoths. They run pharmaceutical firms the world over that are extraordinary. If we give the people who are coming to our tertiary sector opportunities, I think we'll do very well. So education is important, building, and it's important to strengthen the base, but I don't think that's the constraint. Constraint is, my own feeling is, a bureaucracy that does not want change, and current incumbents who are comfortable with rent seeking, that resists opening up to the winds of competition, which actually will make us stronger.
I'm Dr. Keshav Nandi. I'm director in Tilaknagar Industries.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we consider you, we look up to you as one of the very leading lights in management education. And I'm also closely associated with some of the educational institutes.
Yes, sir.
What will be your specific advice to Bombay chambers actually in one particular area, that is the big hiatus between the industry requirement and what is being taught in the academics?
Okay.
Because we do not get ready-made skill.
Yeah.
See, the industry requirements are not reflected in the syllabus of the management institutes.
Yes.
I need something on my plate, but I am given something else, and I am told that you have to eat what I am giving you.
Yes, sir.
And if you want something else, please cook yourself and eat.
Sir, so I think the problem is actually in your and my sector. When I say industries are very autarkic and unwilling to change, guess which of those industries is the most autarkic and most unwilling to change? Education. And one of my dear friends at Harvard Business School, his name is Clay Christensen, he says, loves to use this phrase, disruptive innovation. He says, education is going to be totally disrupted. You know, MOOCs are one example, but there are many other things. Our sector, if we do not change, there were dinosaurs, and then there will be universities. Because the way we educate our people has to take advantage of current directions and future needs. If we think we are providing good education with a professor coming in a classroom and teaching to the blackboard, and the students just somehow showing up in that class because their attendance is being marked, then that is going to be gone. So Bombay Chamber of Commerce doesn't have to do very much, sir. You and I in universities have to do something. Government should allow competition in, so that if we are not doing the right things, somebody else who is doing them better will kill us. So we will wake up and we will start providing good quality education. Competition is a very good disciplining agent, sir.